Watch Jubilee Flat Earthers. They got a Flat Earthers one? I kind of want to watch that. Flat Earth. Earth. Ooh.
Your business idea needs a website? So go to Wix.com.
Fuck you.
By literally clicking twice and installing a free browser add-on. Honey,
What
anytime you check...
Hey guys, welcome back to Middle Ground.
Before we jump in, we've got a huge announcement.
Shut up.
The Earth is flat.
It's like we have this picture of reality that's a big puzzle piece, and then one of those pieces just wasn't fitting.
I'm always open to having a discussion with someone who is holding a wrong belief like this.
Are you willing to change your mind?
I'm not. The evidence is so much.
Nobody wants to be a flat earther, but if you showed me incontrovertible evidence, I would definitely go back. Who wants to ridicule?
Where are you hoping to get from the discussion with the other side?
If you believe the earth is flat, you are stupid. I'm not arguing with you. You have to be absolutely retarded to believe that the earth is flat. $34 minutes? What's 34 minutes? God, this shit is 34 minutes? Oh my fucking God, bro. Y'all sure y'all want to do this shit? The earth is flat, water is wet. Water is not wet. The act of going into water and then coming out is what makes you wet. Play a game? I'm downloading a game right now. I'm downloading a scary game. Y'all want to see? I told y'all I was downloading a damn scary game. See, chat? I'm downloading a scary game. Chill out, man. Fuck. Chat, y'all don't really love me, man. Watch a 1v6 video? Facts. Why maps flat then? Are you fucking stupid? Hold on. Are you fucking stupid? My man's asked me, why are maps flat? What? Are you retarded? You gotta be top 10. You gotta be top 10. You about as retarded as the people who thought that the earth was the center of the universe. What's my schedule? I stream every day except for when I don't stream at 6. So if I'm streaming or if I haven't started stream by like 6 to 7, then I'm not streaming that day. I need a schedule though. I ain't gonna lie, I do be tripping. I'm OD. Play Hunting Bigfoot, that game live with people. I'll think about it. He got the Fight Reacts brain. Y'all been watching too much So. How old are you? I'm 22. I'm a 22-year-old college student trying to make it out. Bro, in 50 years, people can call us retarded for not knowing something scientists is telling us that's true. Yo, on God, keep it a buck. The way shit going, we might not have 50 more years on Earth. I'm trying to enjoy life right now. Never fold. Stop smoking that dope.
I'd like to tear them to pieces.
What's my major? Fuck. What is my major again? I don't even fucking remember. I'm taking basic classes right now.
I'm Jim Underdown, Executive
I'm
Director of the
I sold
Center
the
for
bag
Inquiry
in college.
West in Los Angeles and the chair of the CFI Investigations Group.
I'm Spencer Marks, one of the senior members of the CFI Investigations Group, Science Advocate.
I'm Ali Nayeri. I'm a theoretical physicist, and I'm with the University of Irvine.
I'm Wendell Walton. I'm a Chief Learning Officer for a young startup.
I'm Shelley Lewis. I'm a graduate of West Point, critical thinker, and jumped out.
She just had to add critical
Blattman.
thinker.
I work
bitch, like
as
that shit
Dan
was
the waterman
important.
in the drinking water filtration industry, and I'm a truth seeker.
I get my flat earthers on the left and my globe earthers on the right.
Notice chat.
Only step forward.
They're all old.
True for you.
Skip like halfway.
The earth was created by a higher power.
Well, I've been a Christian for 30 years, so the Bible is a flat earth book. You have to take it literally. Like, for example, in Isaiah,
I'm 2 minutes in and I already don't want to watch this shit. Bro, do y'all not understand that the Bible was written by people? By a bunch of white, no technology having people. Jesus Christ, people are stupid.
when it talks about how the earth is like a clay wax seal that's stamped with upturned edges, that's just not some fancy story. That's a simile.
Are you stupid?
It is like.
Right, absolutely. And in Isaiah talks about too, and I'm a Christian.
Oh my fucking
He who
God.
sits upon the circle of the earth. There's a difference between a circle and a ball.
Well, exactly. If you look at the original Hebrew.
Look at these dudes in
it
the back
means
right.
Disc. There's over 200 scriptures in the Bible that point to a flat earth.
She's smiling. This nigga like,
this
yo, this-
notion that you need God or some higher power to create the earth or the universe is very old, and was initially posited by people of a pre-scientific age. Since then, we have learned quite a bit about the universe coming into existence, when that happened. Modern humans don't get their cosmology, they don't get their physics, they don't get their knowledge of the universe from the Bible or any ancient text.
It's sort of like the God of the
I don't
gaps.
believe in the
That's-
Bible?
people
No,
used
because
to
the Bible's
believe
written
that
by- hold on.
lightning was God's wrath.
I'm not going to talk religion on stream, because believe whatever you want. I personally don't believe in the Bible. Realistically. Because for one, the Bible was written thousands of years after the motherfuckers who took place in this shit died. Secondly, it was written by white people in power and enforced on a bunch of masses, where they're telling you, oh, if you're a slave, you're not supposed to rebel because, oh, it's against God's will. And the reason why you are is because of some higher power that God is like, no, that's fucking stupid. That's fucking retarded. Listen, I'm not gonna get into it because I'm gonna get upset. But just know there's a lot of shit that don't add up. Like, fucking read a book for once, bro. Do some research. Like, Jesus Christ, this shit pissed me off. I hate when black people be like, oh, this, that, and the third about church and Christianity. Yo, on God, bro, before black people learned about Christianity, what were we doing? Walking around in loincloths in fucking Africa. You know where Christianity came from? A nigga named Buck. A nigga named Philip. A nigga named Edward. Or fucking Richard. Or Dick. That told you, yo, listen, this is how it is. And if you don't think this is how it is, I'm going to kill you. That's how it was. That is why fucking religion is how it is. That's why when motherfuckers be like, oh, this, that, and the third about Christianity, and I be like, yo, get on my ear with that shit, bruh. Like, oh God, that shit don't make no sense. How you black and gonna tell me that Jesus is white when this shit took place in Israel, my nigga? Israel, bro. Israel, bro. You seen them niggas? Show me one Caucasian out of there, bro. Alright, Bowzo. I mean, I don't know nothing about dinosaurs, but I mean, I think they have like, I don't fucking know. The fuck did I want to? Shy, I'm just you can't talk about religion on Twitch? Can you really not? Is that TOS? Is it really? I'm not saying not to believe in what you want to believe in, but like, shit. I'm just telling you what I think. They asked me, I told them. You get banned for that, you get banned for that. Fuck it.
Wrath and throwing these lightning bolts, but once we understood it was a natural process, God shrank a little bit more because now we couldn't attribute those lightning bolts to God. We had to attribute that to the real science. The other thing, the point about the Bible specifically for me is, why is that one particular text the correct one? You choose to believe that, and that's fine, but there's so many other writings and so many other books, so why weren't they correct? Why is just the Bible correct?
Well, what you'll find in a lot of these ancient religions is they're all flat earth religions. All their cosmology goes back to being a flat earth with an enclosed system. So it's not just the Bible that teaches this. It's many different religious books.
So one problem I have is to trying to explain phenomena happen in nature by holy books. Those are religious books. Those are not books of science. And it is wrong to infer or deduct scientific readings out of those books.
My name is Wendell. I am a logical, biblically based, and scientific flat earther. I didn't start out, and no one starts out as a flat earther, but I had a lot of questions. So I actually got to the point where I had to go out and put my own eyeballs on it. So we went out to an observation at Salton Sea, and things just didn't add up.
Nigga said there's no black people in this video. On God. He need a hug? He needs
Down
something.
there. So we've gone back
what's
probably a dozen times, and I can guarantee you that there is no curvature over distance.
The internet has played an important role in confirming my view of this topic.
That's the problem.
We have the advantage of information today that's outside of channels 2, 4, and 7 and the few networks that are corporately owned. It's pretty easy to say YouTube isn't research, but when you spend enough time, you're picking up quite a bit. And with the discussion groups, panels, we've gone against opposition. We've opposed ourselves. Surprisingly enough, Flat Earth is its own worst enemy. So it's not that easy for us to come to consensus. And we find that consensus is orchestrated and not actually scientific in any way.
You know, my grandfather used to tell me growing up, never believe anything you read in the newspaper, right? He told that to me. Now, with the age of the internet, it's like, you know, how much of this misinformation are you getting there? And when you have like eyewitnesses taking video of something, you do have to take everything with a grain of salt. That's why, because of my my multimedia background, I knew that all that stuff could be faked. You know, take it into Photoshop, take it into After Effects.
Okay, this is at the core of the issue of why there are so many flat earth believers out there right now. The problem is the information from someone who decides to start a website or produce a YouTube video is not reliable. When I have a toothache, I go to a dentist. When my car breaks down, I go to a mechanic. When you have questions about cosmology, you should go to an astrophysicist, you should go to a physicist, you should go to people who have spent years and years studying these ideas, not some 6-minute YouTube video. There is a percentage of people that if they saw a YouTube video that was not within their scientific chops to refute on the face of it, would believe anything out there.
One of the things I will say is NASA.gov has their own documents out there that we get to vet, which is through the Freedom of Information Act. And would you agree that NASA documents, if they're on display, that we should be able to go and research inside there?
NASA is not proving that the Earth is flat.
Well, they say it in 14 of the
you
documents.
should read what NASA says, and you should listen to what
I
NASA
would
says.
love to see your NASA evidence that the Earth is
It's
flat.
only their contradictory issues
Okay,
that
let's
bring
see.
us here.
We're all familiar with the Earthrise photo, right? The Earth is rising over the moon. We're all familiar with it. That's NASA. You can go out to NASA's site. You can download the original, right?
I already know what you're going to ask.
So you bring up the luminance on it, and you can see where it's cut out and pasted there.
They're showing us doctored images that are clearly doctored. The blue marble is a very famous image from 1972. When you talk to the artist from NASA, his name is Robert Simmons, he talks about exactly how it was created from data, and it's not a photograph whatsoever. He added clouds.
Let me explain.
He added
Hold
a
on.
highlight of the
If
sun.
you take, on your phone, most phones have that panoramic image. When you do that, you're taking a series of pictures, and the phone cleverly stitches
I'm
that
just
together.
saying how it's
Hold on.
presented. It's
Hold on.
presented as a real
So when
photograph.
NASA takes real photos and they either clean them up for color or they stitch them together so it's one large image, it doesn't mean they're CGI.
You're talking about composites. I'm what you call a globe denier. You could even get me into a virtual construct if I can't find the borders myself.
What shape would you say you think the Earth is?
It appears to me to be a stationary plane, as opposed to the vastness of infinity of space. I would
This
find
shit
it
is
to be an ice
actually
plane
irritating me.
where we have a localized sun and our environment thrives there. These particular people have misled us.
Okay,
It
hold on.
appears to me to be a stationary plane,
Okay,
as opposed to the vastness.
if this is the case, why is it not daytime all the time? Where does the sun go? You're telling me the sun is on a fucking axis going like this, back and forth, and switching out with the moon? I can't stand
Of infinity of space, I would find it to be an ice plane where we have a localized sun and our environment thrives there. These particular people have misled us on television. This is a brilliant opportunity to speak. We've been suppressed, censored by mainstream media. Alternative media is just a thing of beauty for me.
I view the other side as uneducated.
I'm running.
They think they are
I'm
uneducated.
running for this.
Well, they certainly think they're educated.
And they're following quite a bit of the university system, what we call scientism.
Right, scientism.
Obviously is the belief in what's written, where we tend to be exploring in the field with physical properties, not theories of any kind. We're using actual measurements that are calculated not by our guidelines, but the guidelines of science as we know it. I can only hope they're uneducated as opposed to disingenuous.
Well, that's the other thing too, because we know
Got
that
triggered, Jack?
on a large scale, the government has been disingenuous, and they're pushing a narrative, right? So it's hard for us. I mean, I'm sure that you've met people too. It's like, look, are you haven't looked into it yet, or are you a shill? Are you part of a disinformation campaign?
I don't think you guys are uneducated. I think you're wrongly educated.
I think the problem with what I've seen in the flat earth crowd is that it's not that they're undereducated, but they, instead of looking at evidence and letting the evidence guide to where the ultimate conclusion is, they start with a conclusion and then they try to cherry pick evidence to support their pre-drawn conclusion. They cast away
That
all
Peapod, the
bits
only
of
person of
evidence
color
that
hasn't
actually
said
is
anything?
contrary to their belief system.
I think that you're very well educated as well as you are, or Jim.
Certainly Ali is probably got the best education of
yeah,
all of us.
Exactly, and he paid for it too. But more and more professionals are coming on board. They're starting to question their reality. So the thing of it is once you start to really take a hard look at the evidence, and you are unafraid of just standing for the truth wherever that may lead you, then people end up becoming flat earthers.
I'm hoping to be able to tell our side of the story from the inside out. So many times, flat earthers are depicted from the outside in, and I want to be able to share with others empirical data that proves the Earth is not what we've been told.
I have changed my mind at some point about this topic.
So when I was 12 years old, I went to space camp and I met Alan B. Shepard.
Oh, nice.
Yep, and I wanted to be an astronaut and I wanted to be
Who the hell is Alan B. Shepard? What is the government saying? I don't know what.
So, for me, I'm a glober. I went into this completely wanting it to be true. And my husband told me, he saw this thing about the fake moon landing. And I was like, you're absolutely crazy. There's no way that the moon landings are fake. And then in 2010, my husband was killed. And so I never really developed that.
Her husband died. The moon landing for sure fake? I don't know.
Until
I don't
around
care. I don't
2014,
care.
when Flat Earth kind of came back
Son.
up. And that little voice inside my head said, remember the fake moon landings? Remember when that was brought to my attention? And then I started really critical.
She went through a post-traumatic stress situation. And because never appreciate the 100 bits. And because she lost her husband, she now doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Rest in peace to your husband. But due to stress and the pain and trauma that she went through, she's delusional.
Critically analyzing that, and I would say, just looking at that evidence, if they can lie about the moon landings, they can certainly lie about pictures and satellites and other things. And so I started going down that rabbit hole of studying. So
she said they lie about satellites? She said they're lying about satellites? Nigga, what? What? There's literally an app on Google where you could look at the Earth from satellites. Yo, chat.
that was my influence from
How
my
many
husband.
lies does it take to make a liar, right?
And being ridiculed for being inquisitive is pretty tough on us. I wouldn't say that I've changed my mind because my mind isn't set. NASA is solely designed to change my mind. It is, from its inception, from its discovery, has been a television program, it's been a space program to sell us on something that they've yet to actually show us. Show me a globe spinning with clouds and a moon, show me home, and I think I could shut up easily. I think I could shut up.
Only way to shut these people
The
up
timing of your conversions
is to take them to
interesting
space, bro.
me. 20 years ago, the flat Earth world was tiny and insignificant. Enter the advent of the internet, YouTube, online discussion groups, all these new available places where you could find information about everything.
This is true that the evidence as you looked were not robust evidence. And the sources you used, they were not reliable sources again. But my problem is that, and I like you guys that you are very skeptical, but at the same time, you are not skeptical about your belief system. That should have come first.
You think that that's my foundation for why I believe the Earth is flat, and I'm telling you, you're wrong.
Okay.
I have evidence that proves it's flat.
What type of
proves
evidence?
It's not a ball.
What type of evidence?
We're being misled. We're being deliberately misled by mainstream
Now,
media.
what's your evidence?
We see too far. We see too far. We should not be able to see. I live in Dana Point.
Okay.
I can see San Clemente Island, which is 60 miles away.
So what?
What do you mean, so what?
Oh, I'm
It's
on the beach.
1,100
I'm
feet
on
tall.
the beach.
It is
What do you
tall.
mean by so what?
I'm on the
But-
beach.
Yeah.
Can you see a ship which is going?
We're
Oh
not
yeah,
talking
let's talk
that.
about the ship that goes
Yes,
over the curvature
okay.
of the Earth. I love
So-
it. So science has said that when I see a ship go out of my field of view, it's going over the curvature of the Earth, correct?
Yes.
But then I bring my P900 up, and guess what? I can zoom it back in. So is it going over the curvature of the Earth or not?
Absolutely.
Oh, not all the
You
time?
can't.
Not all the time?
No, you don't see all the ship. The bottom part of the ship is hidden by the
At
curvature.
that distance, you shouldn't see the top
At
of it
all.
either.
If the Earth were truly flat, there would be really hardly any limit. You would be able to stand at the top of the Empire State Building and look towards Chicago, a mere 1,000 miles away, and see the lights of Chicago at night.
No,
Why wouldn't
because you have an atmospheric disturbance.
Very thick.
I've been
Water
into
alone.
astronomy since I was 10.
It's faulty logic. It's completely faulty logic.
Chad.
Okay.
One of the big things I do is investigate extraordinary claims like flat eartherism or ESP or all sorts of different things. The Earth is undoubtedly a globe and not flat. This is well supported by gobs of science.
Scientific consensus is possible.
Scientific consensus is possible.
What is the question?
I don't understand the question.
Scientific consensus is possible.
Possible. Anything is possible. I mean, anything is
I want to
possible.
slap these
I've
motherfuckers.
got a tremendous issue with consensus
Yo.
and peer review. I've been spending a lot of time arguing with people that argue the other side. And I found that surprisingly, consensus always wins. It was shocking to me that the group with the majority has an incredible advantage. As scientists, flat earthers, truthers, punks,
Notice there's no black
we're at an
people.
incredible disadvantage.
Am I
Let's
gonna
talk
watch the
about
whole 35
scientific
minute video?
consensus.
I'm
for
just
sure.
waiting till they say
You're
something
never
that
going to
really
get
hurts.
100%.
Something that really grinds
There is
my gears.
scientific consensus on a global Earth. There's scientific consensus on evolution. A lot of big
They
issues.
use the word theory.
Do you know what a theory in science is? An extremely
And a fact
Let
is
me-
a fact.
Don't mistake this word theory.
You are.
In
not me.
science, it's not conjecture. It's not.
It's an explanation. Is it by
It's
definition,
well-
it's an explanation.
It's a deep.
Well, let's talk
So this
about
is
a fact.
something
Show me a
people
fact.
made a
then.
mistake.
Why
They
aren't
think
all
theory
facts
is-
theories?
In science, the word theory is the highest level that you can give something because it's so well supported.
What about a fact?
That is a fact. It's
not a fact. You would call it.
You know
a
why?
fact.
Do you know why? Because in science, there's always room for improvement. There's always room to find to tweak and find better information.
So that is how science works.
It gets better refined over time, as opposed to flat earth theory, which never gets refined. It simply is what it is.
New ideas have limited access to media and limited exposure. Until we're in university curriculums, we will continue to appear uneducated.
Well, that's not true. In the history of science, we had many occasions that the ideas, it was not welcomed by the society. Einstein was one of them. Galileo was one of them. But if your theory is an authentic one, and it can go through this hardship of scientific method, eventually will win.
I used to believe that science was after the truth, right? We all just want to know what the truth is. Science has been trying so hard to divorce itself from the idea of a creator when God's intent was to create science to lead you to him. You know, sometimes things seem supernatural that we are able to explain later through, science. Okay, I understand. But there are other things as well that are supernatural, that go beyond the natural, that we can only explain through believing in the creator.
Appreciate the 100 bits.
Right? This is my big issue with science, scientific approach and non-scientific approach. You are absolutely right. In science, we are after.
Hey, bro, chill out with the racial.
Hoping
term,
by
bro.
each day we're getting closer and closer to the truth. We never get there. Never.
Well, I know that's true for you. And
that's a science. That's you guys. You think you do have the truth. Now let's look at the evidences. As you were mentioning, you do have the conclusion. Let's find the evidences. Science doesn't work that way.
That's not
Well,
true.
that's not what
That
we-
is not true.
Well, you are saying
No.
you are referring to Jesus, who many billions of people do not believe, including myself.
And many more billions do.
So what?
So who's right?
Of course I can.
When you say that we start with a conclusion and then try to match everything to make it work, like that to me is complete dishonesty. That is not true at all.
That is what you are doing
No,
right
you're
now.
not. You're making that assumption,
No,
which
it's
I
not
think
my
science does a
assumption.
lot of.
Yo,
You make assumptions.
my man's is so funny, dog. He's like, yo, do y'all not see what you're doing, bro? Like, he's about to slap this shit out of him, bro. He's like, yo, listen, son. He's like, dog, listen. Yo, this shit's killing me. My man's
The
about to
science
go
make
off.
assumptions. The science make
Yeah,
assumptions.
sure.
Okay.
We do make assumptions based on things that are well supported and proven and reproven. We don't have
Show
to.
me how you isolate gravity. If gravity
We
is
don't
an
have to-
assumption, you show me in a scientific method how you isolate gravity.
We've done that.
There's a place to stop. Let's cool off
Yeah, sure.
and reset.
You're like a round hard candy.
Conclusions require knowledge.
I just want to check in. How are you guys feeling? How's this discussion going?
I kind of feel like I want to develop some of this stuff a little bit more. It feels high level, but I feel like there's so much that I haven't really even touched base on.
Well, I mean, I certainly didn't think that anybody was on either side was going to flip.
Well, there's still time.
There's still time. I have hope for you, Wendell, and Shelley. I don't know about Dan. I have hope for you too. But, you know, it's certainly, I'm glad it's a civil discussion, certainly.
Oh, yeah.
Put your waters to the side, and we'll just do another round.
Hey, what was that?
Good. He flipped! Wendell, welcome aboard. Welcome.
The greatest moment in television history right there.
This shit's on YouTube. What you mean TV history?
NASA is trustworthy.
So, I mean, obviously any organization can be wrong with certain things, and they may have individuals that lie or deceive or something, but as a general organization, they're looking for the truth.
Yeah, the idea that NASA and the government is lying to
Get the
us
job.
about the shape of the Earth.
Hey, how much
is the
longer is
height
left on this game,
of
bro?
conspiracy theories.
Oh, this shit
In
moving
order
fast. God
For this
damn.
to be true, the literally hundreds of thousands of people who at some point
All right, chat.
over the last
So the game's gonna be finished in 10 minutes. So we're just gonna finish watching this video. All right. No Tinder today. I'm playing a scary game. I'm gonna play a scary game. So I'm chilling on Tinder right now. I was on Tinder earlier, but it's not really popping. Let's go with the aliens, bro. These, yo, on God, I know aliens fly by Earth and be like, yo, these niggas retarded, son. I'm convinced, bro.
50 or 60 years would had to be somewhat complicit in this, and nobody spills the beans at all, is on the face of it completely unbelievable.
The private does not know what the general is doing. There's compartmentalization happening all the time.
Of course.
So it wouldn't be that far-fetched. Has the government ever lied to us is really the question at stake.
We all agree on that.
Yeah, but now we,
Common ground.
now we have NASA.gov, right? And absolutely, they're not lying about anything. They're completely transparent. Everything is true. We'd be foolish to
There's
think
a
that's
difference
true.
here. I'm sorry. This is a fallacy here. There's
Not
a
a fallacy.
I'm sure it is.
Go
See,
ahead.
you were talking about a government. Now you're talking about an agency of the
NASA.gov.
government. But this agency is scrutinized by thousands and thousands of scientists around the globe. You are dealing with smart people, believe me. You are dealing with smart people.
I don't deny that.
So it is very hard to do that. Once or twice, maybe. Not for the all time.
Raise your hand if you think we went to the moon.
What is the proof? Hundreds and hundreds of pounds of moon rocks and dust. And we have distributed those freely to PhD scientists around the world. And not one of those geologists have said, what is this?
Been
Is this
proven to
some-
be fake.
And and collected on the ice in Antarctica and in the Arctic as well. Those are collected. You don't have to go to the moon to get moon rocks. As a matter of fact, all U.S. Air Force photography prior to 1958 shows a flat Earth. Only NASA shows
That's
us
not
fairly.
true.
That's
That is absolutely not
true,
true.
Jim. I wouldn't lie to you.
And the other
NASA's lying to you, my friend.
The other bit of
Not myself.
is we have a laser retroreflector on the moon.
That we're using now.
We still use to this day.
It's sitting there.
You can find to the inch how far away the moon
No
is.
pictures of home.
That only is there. By the
No,
way,
there are not.
My question to you is, why? Why would all these honest, hardworking people perpetuate this massive fraud? Why would they do this?
What's the benefit of doing
Okay,
that?
the benefit of it. They make $52 million a day. Follow the money.
No, the little
Follow
guy.
the money.
The little guy.
That's what, then when you say all, okay?
But it didn't start out that way. And NASA was not founded to prove the Earth was a globe. It had nothing to do with the way they were founded.
Well, if you go and study
Are
the
you
whole-
sure?
Yeah, positive.
Really?
Yes. Somebody has to be a voice for reason, and somebody has to be a voice for truth. It would be a fantasy to believe that I would change anybody's mind from the other three. However, if there's somebody sitting on the fence, and this is the first introduction to this debate, perhaps they'll hear the reasonable voice and say, yeah, that makes more sense than having this pizza-shaped Earth.
I can put myself in the mindset of the other side.
I used to be a ball earther. Everything you say right now is completely what I used to agree to. So I completely understand where you're coming from.
For me, I think the correct way to do any kind of investigation or to examine things is by literally putting yourself in that mindset of the other person. So I do that. I disagree with your position, but I completely understand from your perspective what you're saying.
The trouble I have understanding your perspective is, in the modern world, unless you live in a cave somewhere, you have to believe in science implicitly. I met a flat earther, a young woman who said, I don't trust anything that science does. And that's a problem because human beings can't replicate the whole body of science every single generation. At some point, you have to trust what's already been discovered and proven and move on to the next thing. Otherwise, we're not going to advance at all. I mean, when you turn that key ignition in your car, you expect the car to start out.
And not blow up.
And not blow up, because science puts you in that position. So it's really hard to
I don't know. This shit is
understand how
funny.
people would know in their hearts that
This
science
shit makes my
achieves
stomach
wonderful
hurt.
things
I had to
and
go
then
to
just
mass.
jumping ship when it comes to this other issue.
We're not drawing conclusions. We understand the mechanisms that made that car work. There is no theories and no disputed conclusions involved there. It's not a good analogy. Can I admit a great compromise that we have to experience being against the grain people? Is we have to literally sit in a group and decide whether or not we can afford to have an opinion, and that's tough.
I agree with you there, because we're the same thing. I mean, I think skeptics go through this and atheists go through this. I don't believe in God. When I'm around religious people, I take a chance socially when I tell them I'm an atheist. So I know it takes some courage to follow your beliefs, and I appreciate that. But I think I've done a lot of research in that venue too. And it's not something I choose to believe in, it's something I have to believe in based on the evidence.
See, what I get from you guys is that seeing is believing. So how come you believe in God or Jesus? You haven't seen neither of them, right?
I've seen evidence, though.
Well, exactly. So we are looking for evidence. There are many, many other evidences for Earth not being flat. My point is that these experiments
Hey, Drix,
clearly
appreciate the
show
100 bits,
that
bro.
the Earth is globe. And you don't need to go outside
It's
the
a
globe to see
conclusion.
it's globe.
It's a
You told me
theoretical-
what
Wait.
the evidence. If
Drix, what the fuck did you just say to me? This nigga said, yo, what? Pause.
If you're
That's
saying
not-
that you look only to see something, then I dispute your belief system in God and Jesus or Jehovah or Buddha or Zarathustra or anyone.
keep going back to religion as
Because
being
it's
our
coming
conclusion.
from there.
No,
You think you do have the
I
truth.
have evidence. I have evidence.
You
from
quoted
what I
at the
know.
beginning of
pointed out
this.
physics.
You
I
quoted
agree.
Bible.
Of
That's
course
the
I did,
reason.
but that is not the only reason I know what the shape of the earth is, and you keep,
Well,
that's fallacy.
It's not fallacy.
It is a
Actually, it
fallacy.
is not fallacy.
It is a fallacy.
I'm a
I
theoretical
like it.
physicist. What I'm doing is the combination of string theory and cosmology. So we try to understand what happened during the Big Bang, after the Big Bang, or even before the Big Bang.
What are you hoping to get from the discussion today?
Well, I hope I would be able, particularly to the young generation, to convince them that first, they should think critically and don't believe anything. They shouldn't take anything for granted. Look at the evidences and examine those evidences and throw away those claims that are not evidence-based.
Science, not to put it down, but when you're talking about rocket science, this is very difficult for the majority of people to understand, and it's designed that way. And so, in a lot of ways, hiding behind rocket science is similar to religion. If you look at the Catholic Church back in the days, only we can interpret the Bible, you have to listen to what we say. So in a lot of ways, we're getting that same notion from science that says, only we can interpret what these numbers are, you just need to trust us. But then when we actually do go and test some of their equations and they don't work, does that beg the question for us to go and test ourselves? Absolutely.
Host, bro.
I would say, one great thing about science is its predictability. Let's for some moment, for a short moment, assume that your model, this flat earth model, is correct. I don't know, what does it buy for us? What does it predict for us? So my question for you guys would be, next time, bring me something from your theory, your model, that you can predict something which the globe earth model cannot predict. Then I would change my mind.
I would just say that don't believe anything that I've said. You got to do your own research. And I think what you'll find is that you'll see that a puzzle piece doesn't fit.
This shit
The only way
fucking
you can do that
pisses
is if
me
you put
off,
your own
bro. Because it's like, my man's is like, oh, do your own research. Bitch, I'm asking you. You've done the research. This shit pisses me off, bro. I hate that shit. Oh, do your own research. Listen, my guy. Like, are you fucking stupid? I don't know, man.
Balls on it.
I don't blame people for being skeptical. I'm skeptical about a lot of different things. I applaud that instinct in you. But you have to go beyond just not believing in something. Ask the hard questions. Ask what qualifies a YouTuber, a book author, anywhere else you're getting this information. What qualifies them to make wide-ranging comments about the shape of the earth? Look, anybody who can overturn Einstein or some major theory is going to be eventually written in the halls of science for the rest of their lives. But they have to come up with the goods. They have to show good science-based evidence that what they say is true, and they have to withstand.
So, chat, is the earth flat? Llama arts? What is that shit, bro?